Hi, friends. Welcome back. So, there's a new movie about Donald Trump called The Apprentice, and this is a movie review of that. I will say right up front, there will be spoilers in this review because it's hard to talk about this movie without giving spoilers. And also, the movie isn't for everyone. And I'll make it really clear there's a lot of sexual content here, drug content here. It's basically an adult movie. And I don't think there's going to be a large audience for this kind of movie. It's just pretty dark. It's also about Donald Trump, and if you're into gangster type movies, which is essentially how that movie portrays him, you may like this movie. It's not one of my favorites, but I do think it was an interesting one. The other thing is too, if you're curious what the general story of the movie is about, it's about this lawyer who is Donald Trump's essentially first lawyer. He's older, he's seasoned, he's famous. He represents gangsters. That's the lawyer, and then trains Donald Trump to be basically a gangster criminal guy. Trump's dream is to be, this worldwide famous real estate developer, and it actually portrays Trump as not being confident in the beginning. So whether or not that's the case, it's hard to say. This is sort of why the movie will be controversial because people who love Trump will say, "Oh, it's all lies," and people say, who hate Trump will say, "Oh, it must be the truth because Trump's absolutely awful." Now, I think that the movie is actually interesting because it doesn't necessarily make how can I say, a characterization of Trump in sense of like it's just a cartoon character. It actually feels like a real person to me. The world itself all feels very real. It feels very much like New York. I used to live in New York. I used to work in New York, and reminds me of why I probably don't want to live there ever again. Just it is a very New York movie for those of you who been around Wall Street, real estate developers, these kind of things. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically eat or get eaten kind of world. So I think that kind of stuff is very well portrayed and also sort of bleeds into Donald Trump, the politician of today. One of the things that I thought was fascinating about it when saying that the Trump's lawyers train Donald how to be the Donald. It's like attack, 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 lie, 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 never admit anything, and get away with it somehow. One of the fascinating scenes early on in the movie is Trump wants to build this fantastic hotel, and this is in a New York City that's falling apart. And so how do you do it? You lie. you tell people how awesome everything's going to be and start saying everything's going to be fantastic, best in the world, that kind of stuff. And you kind of start to learn this game. And then you get a lawyer that makes shady deals on your behalf. The one thing that was really interesting is that it portrays in the movie that they basically got this major tax break to build said hotel. Now, this is where the details of the movie, it's hard to say exactly what's going on. There could be some creative license on this stuff. But basically, it shows how his lawyer does a lot of backroom dealings and sort of basically blackmails public officials to get this stuff, done. Now, to what extent is this stuff? This stuff is hard to say, right? And this is why I'm being honest with you, where it's hard to say like, hey guys, you have to see this movie. This is the absolute truth of what happened. I don't know, right? And I'll give you another example. There's another really interesting scene where Trump has like this, forces his, well, not force right word, but he's getting married to his first wife, which is Ivana, and they have to do this prenuptial thing. And it is actually the best scene in the movie, in my opinion. Like signing the prenuptial and like how she reacts to it, and then later they're negotiating the signing bonus of like how much Trump's gonna pay her to get married, and it's like I had to like think about this like, oh my god, it's so crazy. Like you're wondering like where did you come up with this stuff, but then you have to remind yourself, yes, it is a movie, and these are the kind of things that probably didn't happen in that way. But yes, I'm sure there was a prenup, and I'm sure the lawyer presented to him in that sort of way. So this is where you have to separate fact from fiction, and when you're talking about a current public official, where it gets to be sensitive. There's another issue in the movie where it shows Trump sexual assaulting his first wife. I actually looked that one up after seeing the movie, thinking, is this real? Did this happen? Basically, I guess it was in the court filings that she said he did these kind of things. Obviously, he's going to deny it, and then I guess later she withdrew that stuff. So it's hard to say what really happened there. If I had to guess, you're just paying her off to keep quiet. That's would be my guess, but like that kind of stuff, it's just hard to know. It's also hard to watch those kind of scenes, sexual assault. But it is real, and unfortunately, it happens. And Trump has been convicted of these things, so there's that. I don't think Trump is a good person, but you guys already know my feelings on that. However, for those of you who have never seen these kind of movies of like the early years of Trump, I think it'll really open up a what's the right word to say the doorway into that kind of world. They go over sort of the casinos in Atlantic City a bit, and also like the lawyer I guess was against it, like this place is a dump. Why would you want to invest in that? And they also get into Trump essentially just keep over leveraging, borrowing yet more money, and finding ways to keep doing yet more. They don't really go over bankruptcies that much in this movie. It's not a big part of it. It's mostly just about Trump becoming Trump. That's essentially from the lessons from the lawyer to the person that he is today. And that's really the focus. I think for some people, and actually now I'm thinking about it, this reminds me of the Muhammad Ali movie with Will Smith, where it's not really about like chronological events, accurately and timeline, and you have to get all the major details correct there. It's more just sort of showing who the person is and maybe a few key moments of their life to make them who they are, today or who they became. In Trump's situation, as I mentioned, the lawyer, the first wife, sort of like how he starts to do this. They show the sort of how he handles business dealings, and then it gets into how he just becomes really aggressive and full of himself, which is not like unheard of. So I think the best way to think about this movie is that it's accurate in the sense of like you can see how a person starts out and where they end up, and then make sense of who they are today. And the movie also shows them talking about like with his ghostwriter about writing his own book and sort of building up his brand, which is I guess another part of the movie. Trump to this stage, and now he's become, the president of the United States come January. Guys, like him, don't like him. We have to admit that he's a historical figure, and he is going to be probably end up being the most controversial figure and president like that we've ever had. What I do think the movie represents very, very well is that Trump and Trump's not alone in this kind of situation, and there's a lot of people out there that they always are around crimes. They're around sort of like shady dealings and around how can I say like criminal type activity. And I say type because it depends what you think a criminal is. For some people, they look at Trump and they say, "Oh, the government's just really mean to Trump." And when he's convicted of felonies, he's not really guilty. It was just people who just wanted to get him, right? And then there's other people who are like, "Well, of course he's guilty. He did these things. The government has a strong case, and that's why he's a felon." And you put the two together, and yet he becomes president of the United States, and so that's where it becomes laughable when you see the movie. The sort of who he is today, and you put it all together, and you're like, how the heck is this guy still going strong? And then you have this movie. And so I know I maybe my view is not making a lot of sense until you actually see the movie. But I kind of wanted to just talk about it with you for those of you who are interested in this kind of thing. For me, the big takeaway is if you're interested in sort of gangster real estate developing, tough New York City stuff, it's like, you're with me or you're against me, or, I'm going to build in that place and I'm going to do it any way, means possible. If I have to threaten you, blackmail you, if I have to spread, lies in the media about you, I will do it because this game is all about making money and I want to win. And there are some people who like admire that kind of bravado, that kind of attitude. It's interesting when you watch this movie because I'll just say the movie is sympathetic in terms of like you understand why this person like wants to do these kind of things, and he does appear to be human. But when you get to the very end and you put it all together, you're like, oh my god, this is insane. Insane that this person would ever be president of the United States. I'm making jokes and I'm talking about serious stuff at the same time. It's like it is this crazy wacko world that we live in. The other thing too I want to mention is that the betrayal of his family. Actually, I don't think it's too far from the truth. Now, again, with any of these kind of movies, just understand, the actual conversations that people have and the actual events, in their home, you're never going to know exactly, right? They're just sort of doing brushstrokes of like relationships between family members. But, what it portrays is basically a dysfunctional family. It's not that shocking though when you look at, say, Trump today with his kids, and we know they're all dysfunctional. You can see it, right? And that's the thing that's sort of bothersome about it. And I guess when I'm thinking about when I was just watching the movie, I'm just like, how are we letting this essentially crime family reach the the pillar of American society, becoming the American president, the first family, these kind of things. I mean, I don't know. I guess the answer I have, and I do YouTube every day, people want to win at any cost, and money is their god. And I guess that's the main kind of takeaway of the movie. But what I do think it portrays well is there's a cost in it, because I remember I said win at any cost, but there is a cost, and it ends up being your soul. For me, it's not worth it. For some people in the Trump camp who like Trump, I guess it is for them. But that's not necessarily the world that I want to live in, and that's why I'm smiling every day. Where these other people, I think a lot of it is a veneer, fake smile on the outside, but on the inside, they have to keep taking whatever pills or things to just keep going through the day and surround themselves with other people who are money grabbers. So I don't necessarily recommend this movie to anyone, other than if you like gangster movies about real life figures where, the facts of the said movie may or may not be true. But again, it's more about the overall story and how Trump became Trump, learning from his lawyer, and sort of the world of New York City. So thanks for watching. I'd like to hear your thoughts, what you think about this stuff, and I'll catch you on the next video.